What happens when your entire family doesn't notice you've moved to another state for 10 months? My name is Emma Chen, and 3 days ago, my father called me for the first time in almost a year. Not to check how I was doing. Not to say he missed me. But to demand I attend my brother's wedding because they needed to look perfect. When I said no, he threatened to disinherit me. So I said just one thing that made him freeze completely. And what happened next destroyed their perfect family image forever. But let me start from the beginning. The day I disappeared from their lives without anyone noticing. It was a Tuesday morning in March. I was packing my car in the driveway of my childhood home in Sacramento. Box after box of my belongings. My books, my clothes, my photographs. Everything that made up 25 years of being invisible in my own family. Mom was in the kitchen making breakfast for my younger brother Jake. Dad was reading his newspaper, sipping his coffee. Neither of them looked up when I carried my last box to the car. "I'm leaving," I announced from the doorway. Mom glanced up briefly. "Okay honey, drive safe. Will you be home for dinner?" "No," I said. "I won't be home at all." Dad lowered his newspaper an inch. "What do you mean?" "I'm moving to Portland. Today. I got a job at a marketing firm there." Silence. Then Mom went back to flipping pancakes. "That's nice, dear," she said absently. "Jake, your breakfast is ready." Jake thundered down the stairs, grabbed his plate, and didn't even acknowledge I was standing there. The golden child. The star athlete. The one who got a full scholarship to Stanford while I worked 3 jobs to pay for community college. "I said I'm moving away," I repeated. "Today. Right now." Dad folded his newspaper completely. "Emma, don't be dramatic. If you want more space, we can talk about setting up the garage as an apartment." "I don't want more space here. I want to start my life somewhere else." Mom finally turned around. "Sweetheart, you can't just leave. What about family dinners? What about Jake's games?" "Jake's games. Not my life. Not my dreams. Not my new job opportunity. Jake's games. Jake has enough cheerleaders," I said quietly. I walked out the door, got in my car, drove away from the only home I'd ever known, and waited for them to call. The first day passed. No calls. The second day. Nothing. By the end of the first week, I realized something that cut deeper than any argument could have. They didn't miss me because they'd never really seen me. I settled into my new apartment in Portland. A tiny studio with exposed brick walls and a view of the mountains. It was small, but it was mine. For the first time in my life, I had a space where I wasn't competing for attention. The job at Cascade Marketing was everything I'd hoped for. Creative projects, supportive colleagues, a boss who actually noticed when I did good work. Within 3 months, I was promoted to senior account manager. I kept my phone on, hoping. Waiting for that call from home. The call that would prove I mattered to them. Months passed. Spring turned to summer. Summer faded to fall. Then winter. 10 months. 10 months of silence. I made new friends. Dated a wonderful guy named David who listened when I talked and remembered details about my life. I discovered I was good at things I'd never tried before. Rock climbing. Painting. Stand-up comedy. I was becoming myself. The real Emma. Not the invisible daughter. Not the overlooked sister. Just Emma. But late at night, I still stared at my phone. Still wondered if they ever thought about me. Then, on a cold January morning, my phone finally rang. Dad flashed on the screen. My heart stopped. After 10 months of silence, he was calling. Maybe they missed me. Maybe they realized what they'd lost. Maybe this was the moment everything changed. I answered on the 4th ring. "Emma." Dad's voice boomed through the speaker. "There you are. There you are." Like I'd been hiding. Like I hadn't been waiting for this call for almost a year. "Hi, Dad. Listen, I need you to come home next weekend. Jake's getting married, and we need the whole family there. Your mother's been planning this wedding for months. Not how are you doing? Not we've missed you. Just a demand to appear for the perfect family photo. Jake's getting married? I asked. To who? Sarah Peterson. You remember Sarah from high school? I did remember Sarah. The cheerleader who'd never spoken to me despite being in 3 classes together. That's fast, I said. Didn't they just start dating? They've been together for 8 months, Dad said impatiently. Emma, I don't have time for chit-chat. The wedding is Saturday at 2. Wear something nice. Navy blue if you have it. We're doing family photos at 8 months. They'd been together for 8 months, and no one had told me. Jake was getting married, and I was finding out 6 days before the wedding. I can't make it, I said quietly. What do you mean you can't make it? I mean I won't be there. The silence stretched between us. I could hear Dad's breathing getting heavier. Emma, this is your brother's wedding. My brother who hasn't called me once in 10 months. Don't be ridiculous. You talk to Jake all the time. The denial hit me like a physical blow. They truly believed their own fiction. In their minds, I was still the dutiful daughter who lived in their house and existed for their convenience. Dad, when was the last time Jake called me? I don't keep track of your phone calls, Emma. The answer is never. Jake has never called me. Not once in my entire life. That's not true. It is true. And neither have you. This is the first time you've called me in 10 months. More silence. I could almost hear the gears turning in his head, trying to reconcile his version of reality with the truth. Emma, you're being dramatic. We see you all the time. When was the last time you saw me, Dad? You were at dinner on Sunday. Which Sunday? Last Sunday. Dad, it's Tuesday. Yesterday was Monday. 3 days ago was Saturday. Last Sunday was 5 days ago, not 2. And I wasn't there. I could hear him fumbling. Well, the Sunday before that. I haven't been to a family dinner since I moved to Portland. That was 10 months ago. The words hung in the air between us. 10 months of absence that he'd somehow convinced himself never happened. Portland. His voice was smaller now. What are you doing in Portland? I live here, Dad. I moved here in March. I got a job here. I have an apartment here. That's not possible. Your mother would have told me. Mom was there when I moved. She watched me pack my car. She said drive safe and asked if I'd be home for dinner. Emma, stop playing games. You need to be at this wedding. The old Emma would have caved. Would have driven 8 hours to sit in the back row and smile for photos with people who'd forgotten she existed. But this Emma, the real Emma, was done being invisible. I'm not coming to the wedding. Yes, you are. No, Dad. I'm not. His voice shifted. Got harder. More threatening. Emma, this family has invested a lot in you over the years. College, living expenses, support. You owe us this. College that I paid for myself. Living expenses for a room I barely used because I was always working. Support that consisted of occasional acknowledgements of my existence. I don't owe you anything. The hell you don't. Dad's voice exploded through the phone. You are coming to this wedding, and you're going to smile, and you're going to be part of this family, or so help me God, or what? Or you're out of the will. Completely. Your mother and I have worked hard to build something for you kids, and if you can't be bothered to show up for your own brother's wedding, then you don't deserve any of it. The threat that was supposed to bring me to my knees. The trump card that had controlled me my entire life. The fear of being cut off, cast out, abandoned. But as I stood in my small apartment, looking at the life I'd built with my own hands, the threat felt hollow. Okay, I said calmly. Okay what? Okay, cut me out of the will. Silence. Complete, stunned silence. Emma, Dad, do you want to know why I'm okay with that? Why? And here it was. The moment of truth. The thing I'd figured out during 10 months of being forgotten. Because I've been out of the will my entire life, and I never even knew it. What are you talking about? When was the last time you and Mom updated your will? I don't see how that's relevant. When, Dad? 5 years ago. Maybe 6. Before or after I graduated high school? After. It was after Jake started college, so 7 years ago. I was 18. Still living at home. Still part of the family. I could hear him breathing, waiting for me to make my point. Dad, what address do you have listed for me in that will? The silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Dad, the house address. The house where I haven't lived for 10 months. Emma, the will that you're threatening to cut me out of still lists me as living in your house. Because you never noticed I moved. You never updated my information. For all legal purposes, I'm already a ghost. The truth hit him like a truck. I could hear it in his breathing. But that's not even the best part, I continued, my voice getting stronger. Do you want to know what I discovered when I was setting up my new bank account in Portland? What? The college fund you've been holding over my head for years. The one you said you'd use to pay for my education if I was a good daughter. The one you threatened to take away whenever I stepped out of line. Emma, don't, it's been empty for 3 years. I heard him suck in a breath. You spent it on Jake's Stanford tuition. Every penny. But you never told me. You kept threatening me with money that didn't exist. How did you, bank error, Dad? Apparently, I was still listed as a beneficiary on the account notifications. I got a statement showing a zero balance. So I called the bank. I was shaking now, years of suppressed anger finally finding their voice. They told me everything. How you emptied my college fund to pay for Jake's full ride. How you took out a second mortgage to cover his expenses. How you've been living on credit cards for 2 years trying to maintain your perfect lifestyle. Emma, please, the will you're threatening me with? It's worthless, Dad. There's no money left. The house has negative equity. Your retirement accounts are empty. You've been robbing Peter to pay Paul for years, all to make sure Jake had everything he wanted. The silence was deafening. I'd just exposed the lie that their entire financial life was built on. So thank you, I continued, for threatening to disinherit me. It saved me the trouble of finding out later that there was nothing to inherit anyway. Emma, you don't understand the pressures we've been under. I understand perfectly. I understand that you chose Jake over me so completely that you literally spent my future to pay for his. It's not that simple, it's exactly that simple. And now you need me to show up to his wedding so your friends won't ask uncomfortable questions about where your daughter is. I could hear him starting to cry. My father, who'd never shown emotion in front of me, was breaking down. Emma, please. Your mother, she's been so excited about this wedding. She's told everyone about how beautiful our family is going to look in the photos. She's told everyone about how beautiful Jake and Sarah are going to look. I'm just supposed to stand in the background and not ruin the picture. That's not true. Dad, what color did you tell me to wear? Navy blue. Do you know what color the bridesmaids are wearing? Silence. Navy blue, Dad. You want me to dress like a bridesmaid so I'll blend into the background of the photos. So no one will wonder why Jake's sister looks out of place. Emma, that's not, we didn't. You didn't even think about it, did you? You just automatically assumed I should fade into the background. He was crying harder now. Emma, please come home. We can fix this. We can figure this out. There's nothing to fix, Dad. This isn't a problem. This is just the truth. What do you want from us? The question I'd been waiting 10 months to hear. But now that it was here, I realized I already knew the answer. I don't want anything from you. That's what I've been trying to tell you. Emma, I want you to have a beautiful wedding. I want Jake to be happy. I want Mom to get her perfect family photos. I just don't want to pretend to be part of it anymore. You are part of it. You're our daughter. No, Dad. I'm your idea of a daughter. There's a difference. I could hear Mom in the background now, asking Dad what was wrong, why he was crying. I have to go, I said. Tell Jake congratulations from me. Emma, wait, goodbye, Dad. I hung up and turned off my phone. For the first time in 10 months, I cried. Not from sadness, but from relief. The conversation I'd been dreading was over, and it had gone better than I'd ever hoped. Not because we'd reconciled, but because I'd finally said everything I needed to say. David found me on my couch 2 hours later, surrounded by tissues. "Rough day?" he asked, sitting beside me. I told him everything. The whole story. The 10 months of silence, the wedding demand, the empty college fund, the worthless inheritance threat. When I finished, he was quiet for a long time. "What are you thinking?" I asked. "I'm thinking," he said slowly, "that you're the strongest person I've ever met." "I don't feel strong. I feel like I just nuked my entire family." "Emma, they nuked your family 10 months ago when they didn't notice you were gone. You just finally admitted it." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Jake's wedding, about the empty chair where I was supposed to sit, about the family photos that would be missing their daughter. But I also thought about the life I'd built in Portland. The friends who noticed when I was gone for a day. The job where my contributions mattered. The apartment that felt like home. Saturday came. Jake's wedding day. I spent the morning hiking with friends. The afternoon at a farmer's market. The evening cooking dinner for David and watching movies. It was the best Saturday I'd had in years. Sunday morning, I turned my phone back on. 47 missed calls. Dozens of text messages. Most from numbers I didn't recognize. The first voicemail was from Mom. "Emma, honey, please call us back. Your father told me about your conversation, and I think there's been some misunderstanding. Please, we need to talk." The second was from Jake. I don't know what's going on with you and Dad, but I really wanted you at my wedding. Can you call me?" Jake had never called me before. Had never said he wanted me anywhere. The third voicemail made me sit down. "Emma, this is your Aunt Carol. I was at the wedding yesterday, and when people asked where you were, your parents said you were sick. But honey, I talked to your cousin Rebecca, and she said you've been posting pictures from Portland for months. Are you okay? Please call me." My cousins had noticed. My extended family had been following my life on social media while my immediate family lived in complete denial. I scrolled through the text messages. Most were from relatives asking if I was okay, if something had happened, why I wasn't at the wedding. But the last message stopped me cold. It was from my grandmother, my dad's mother. "Emma, I heard what happened. Your grandfather and I want you to know that we're proud of you for standing up for yourself. We've watched your parents treat you like furniture for years, and we're glad you finally found the courage to leave. If you need anything at all, you call us. Love, Grandma." I stared at that message for 10 minutes. My grandparents had seen it. Other people had seen it. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't being dramatic. The treatment I'd endured was real, and it was wrong. I called my grandmother. "Emma." Grandma's voice was warm and strong. "Oh sweetheart, how are you?" "I'm okay, Grandma. Better than okay, actually. Good. I'm so proud of you." "For what?" "For saving yourself. For getting out before they destroyed you completely." The words hit me like a revelation. I hadn't abandoned my family. I'd saved myself. "Grandma, were Mom and Dad very upset at the wedding?" "Upset doesn't begin to cover it. Your mother cried through the entire ceremony. Your father looked like he'd aged 10 years. And the questions, oh honey, the questions from everyone about where you were. What did they say? Different things to different people. First you were sick, then you were working, then you had a family emergency. By the end of the night, people were concerned you'd been in an accident. And Jake looked confused more than anything. Like he genuinely didn't understand why you weren't there. I don't think that boy has ever had to think about anyone but himself. What about Sarah? Sarah kept asking about you. She seemed disappointed you weren't there. But apparently, she'd been looking forward to getting to know you better. That surprised me. Sarah had wanted to get to know me. "Grandma, can I ask you something?" "Of course, dear." "Did you know they spent my college fund on Jake?" The silence on the other end was telling. "You knew." "We suspected," she said quietly. "Your grandfather and I offered to help with your college expenses several times, but your father always said you were covered." We thought it was strange that you were working so many jobs if you had a college fund. Why didn't you say anything? We tried. We had several conversations with your father about treating you children equally. But he always had explanations. Jake needed more support because sports were expensive. Jake had more potential for scholarships. Jake was going to a better school. It was always Jake. It was always Jake, she agreed sadly. Emma, your grandfather and I have been talking. We want to do something for you. Grandma, you don't need to hush. We're old, we're comfortable, and we have more money than we need. We want to set up an education fund for you. If you want to go back to school, get an advanced degree, whatever you want to do. I started crying again. Grandma, I can't accept that. You can and you will. Consider it back payment for all the birthdays they forgot, all the achievements they ignored, all the times they made you feel invisible. They forgot my birthday? Emma, honey, they've forgotten your birthday 3 times in the past 5 years. We always remembered, but they... She trailed off, but I understood. Even my grandparents had been watching my parents neglect me. There's something else, Grandma continued. Your Aunt Carol wants to talk to you. She's been thinking about offering you a job. A job? She runs a marketing consultancy in Seattle. Much bigger than what you're doing now. She's been following your work on LinkedIn, and she's impressed. My aunt had been following my career while my parents didn't even know what I did for work. I'll call her, I promised. Good. And Emma? Yes. Don't you dare go back to that house until they can see you for who you really are. You're worth more than being someone's convenient daughter. After we hung up, I sat on my couch processing everything I'd learned. My extended family had been watching out for me while my immediate family forgot I existed. They'd seen the neglect, the favoritism, the emotional abandonment. I wasn't imagining it. I wasn't being dramatic. I was being systematically erased, and everyone could see it except the people doing it. Monday morning, I called Aunt Carol. Emma, she said immediately. I was hoping you'd call. Are you okay, honey? I'm better than I've been in years, actually. Good. Listen, I heard what happened with the wedding, and I want you to know that a lot of us have been concerned about how your parents treat you. You have. Emma, at family gatherings, they talk about Jake for hours. His games, his grades, his girlfriends, his college plans, his job prospects. They barely mention you, and when they do, it's usually about how you're helping out with something. Helping out. Like I was the hired help instead of their daughter. Carol, Grandma mentioned you might have a job opportunity. I do. Senior Marketing Director, Seattle office. It would be a significant pay increase from what you're making now, plus full benefits, plus equity in the company. The number she mentioned was double my current salary. It would mean moving again, she continued, but Seattle's a great city, and you'd be closer to family who actually appreciates you. When would you need an answer? Take your time. This position is yours if you want it. I've been watching your career, Emma. You're talented, hardworking, and creative. Everything I look for in a senior director. That afternoon, I called my current boss and gave my 2 weeks' notice. By the end of the week, I'd put a deposit on an apartment in Seattle's Capitol Hill neighborhood. I was moving again. But this time, I was moving toward family instead of away from it. The day before I left Portland, my phone rang. Mom this time. Emma, please don't hang up. I'm not going to hang up, Mom. Your father told me about your conversation. About the college fund. Okay. Emma, we never meant for you to find out like that. How did you mean for me to find out? We hoped we could replace the money before you needed it. I needed it 4 years ago, Mom. When I was taking out student loans and working 3 jobs to pay for community college. I know, and I'm sorry. Are you sorry you did it, or sorry I found out? The question hung between us. Both, she admitted finally. Emma, Jake needed, and I didn't matter. That's not true. Mom, if you had 2 children and one had a college fund and the other didn't, which one would you say mattered more to you? It's not that simple. It is exactly that simple. You chose Jake over me. Every time. For everything. His needs, his wants, his convenience, his happiness. Always Jake. Emma, we love you both equally. No, you don't. And that's okay. Not all parents love their children equally. But most parents don't let the unfavored child figure it out so brutally. Mom was crying now. What can we do? How can we fix this? You can't. There has to be something. Mom, you can't fix 25 years of neglect with a phone call. You can't undo the damage of making me invisible in my own family. But we want to try. I believed her. For the first time in our conversation, I believed she was being completely honest. If you want to try, I said, then you have to start by being honest about what you did wrong. We treated you unfairly. How specifically? We focused too much on Jake. What else? We spent your college money. What else? She was quiet for a long time. We stopped seeing you. What do you mean? We stopped seeing you as a person. You became convenient. You were always there, always reliable, always willing to help. We took you for granted. It was the closest thing to a real apology I'd ever gotten from her. Mom, I'm moving to Seattle next week. Seattle? Why? Aunt Carol offered me a job. A really good job. But you just got settled in Portland. I got settled in Portland because my family in California forgot I existed. Now I'm moving closer to family who actually wants me around. We want you around. No, you want me available. There's a difference. Emma, please come home. Even just for a visit. Let us show you that we've learned something from this. What have you learned? That we hurt you. That we weren't fair. That we need to do better. And what would doing better look like? I don't know, she admitted. But we want to figure it out. For the first time in months, I felt a tiny spark of hope. Not hope that everything could go back to the way it was, but hope that maybe, someday, we could build something new. I'll think about it, I said. Really? Really? But Mom, I need you to understand something. I'm not the same person who left Sacramento. I'm not going to go back to being invisible. I'm not going to compete with Jake for your attention. I'm not going to pretend that what happened didn't happen. I understand. I have a good life now. A life where I matter. Where people notice when I'm gone. Where my contributions are valued. I won't give that up to make your family photos look complete. I wouldn't ask you to. Good. Because that's the only way this works. I come back as myself, or I don't come back at all. 2 weeks later, I was settled in my new apartment in Seattle. Aunt Carol's company was everything she'd promised: challenging work, supportive colleagues, and a boss who saw my potential instead of overlooking my existence. My phone rang on a Saturday morning. Jake. Emma. It's Jake. Hi, Jake. I wanted to call and apologize. For what? For not noticing you were gone. For not inviting you to the wedding myself. For taking all the attention for so many years. I wasn't expecting that. Jake. I've been thinking about what Mom and Dad told me. About how you moved 10 months ago and we didn't notice. About the college fund. About all of it. And I'm horrified. I'm horrified that I was so wrapped up in my own life that I never saw how they were treating you. I could hear genuine remorse in his voice. Jake, you were just being their son. You can't be blamed for accepting the love and attention they gave you. But I can be blamed for not noticing they weren't giving it to you. That was surprisingly insightful. What made you realize it? Sarah, actually. After the wedding, she kept asking about you. She said she'd been excited to finally get to know you, since we'd never really talked in high school. When I told her you'd always been quiet and shy, she said that wasn't her impression at all. What was her impression? That you were funny and smart and confident, but that you seemed invisible in our family. She said she'd watched us at family events and noticed that Mom and Dad barely included you in conversations. Sarah had seen in a few family gatherings what Jake had missed in 25 years of living in the same house. Jake, I'm glad you called. Are you? Yes. I've never wanted to be your enemy. I just wanted to be your sister. You are my sister. I know I've done a terrible job of showing it, but you are. I know. Emma, would you be willing to have dinner with Sarah and me sometime? Just us, not Mom and Dad. I want to get to know you. The real you. The invitation I'd been waiting my entire life to hear. Not a demand to show up for someone else's convenience, but a genuine desire to spend time with me. I'd like that. Really, really. We made plans for the following weekend. Dinner at a quiet restaurant in Seattle, just the three of us. That night, I called David to tell him about the conversation. How do you feel? He asked. Hopeful, I said. Cautiously hopeful. That's good. That's healthy. David, can I ask you something? Always. Do you think I did the right thing? Walking away from them? He was quiet for a moment. Emma, I think you did the only thing you could do to save yourself. And I think that sometimes, losing a family is the only way to find out who actually wants to be your family. 3 months later, I was having dinner with Jake and Sarah for the 4th time. We'd developed an easy friendship, built on actually getting to know each other as adults rather than the roles we'd played as children. Emma, Sarah said over dessert, I have to tell you something. What? Jake's been talking to Mom and Dad about how they treated you. I looked at Jake. You have? He nodded. I can't undo 25 years of favoritism, but I can at least make sure they understand what they did wrong. What have you told them? That they have 2 children, not 1. That you deserved the same opportunities one got. That spending your college fund was wrong. That not noticing you moved was unforgivable. How did they take it? Dad got defensive at first. Started making excuses. But Mom just cried. She said she knew they'd failed you, but she didn't realize how completely until you were gone. And now they're in family therapy, Sarah said. They asked Jake to ask you if you'd consider joining them for a session. Family therapy. I never would have expected that. What do you think? I asked Jake. I think they're trying. Maybe for the first time in their lives, they're actually trying to understand what they did wrong. And I think, Sarah added, that you're strong enough to handle whatever comes out of those sessions. Whether it leads to reconciliation or just closure. That weekend, I called Mom. Emma. The joy in her voice was unmistakable. How are you, sweetheart? I'm good, Mom. Jake told me about the therapy. Oh, yes. We're learning a lot about ourselves. Not all of it comfortable. Jake said you wanted me to consider joining you for a session. Only if you want to. Only if you think it might help. What are you hoping to accomplish? Honestly, I'm hoping to understand how we let this happen. How we let you slip away without even noticing. And maybe figure out how to be a real family. Mom, you understand that I'm not coming back to Sacramento, right? My life is here now. I understand. We're not asking you to come back. We're asking if you'd be willing to let us come to you. That surprised me. You'd come here? Emma, we should have been coming to you all along. We should have been part of your life instead of expecting you to exist only in ours. Whenever you're ready. Whenever it works for you. I thought about it for a week. Then I called Dr. Martinez, a family therapist in Seattle who came highly recommended. The session was scheduled for a Saturday afternoon. Mom and Dad flew up Friday night. I was nervous as I walked into Dr. Martinez's office. My parents were already there, sitting on one side of a comfortable couch. They looked older, more fragile than I remembered. Emma, Mom said, standing to hug me. Thank you for doing this. Dad stood too, but hesitated. Emma, I owe you an apology. We'll have time to talk about that, Dr. Martinez said kindly. Why don't we all sit down and start with everyone sharing what they hope to get out of this session? For the next hour, my parents did something they'd never done before. They listened to me. Really listened. Without defending themselves, without making excuses, without changing the subject to Jake. I told them about the 10 months of silence. About building a life they knew nothing about. About the pain of being forgotten, the relief of being seen, the long process of learning to value myself. Mom cried through most of it. Dad sat in stunned silence. I want to understand, Mom said finally, how we became the kind of parents who could lose a child without noticing. You didn't lose me, I corrected. You never really had me. That's the difference. What do you mean? Dad asked. You had an idea of me. The quiet daughter. The helpful one. The one who didn't cause problems. But you never had me, Emma, the person with dreams and opinions and feelings. How do we get to know Emma the person? Mom asked. You start by being interested in my life. Not my role in your life, but my actual life. Tell us about your life, Dad said. Tell us about Seattle, your job, your friends. Tell us about who you've become. For the first time in my memory, they asked questions about me that weren't related to how I could help them or what I could